Us to come. I know that you're working full time. You got a son you're trying to take care of, and two sons.
Two.
Like these guys, you didn't need another thing to do. But as we tell you day one, you have a story to tell, and somewhere down the road, God's going to help you find purpose in that story. And so tonight isn't just for you to represent the mission. There's somebody here that's going to be inspired and challenged in their own stuff. I promise you, because they heard your story. So I want to start with the end in mind. Tell them what you're doing right now.
Well, can I just say before I say that, thank you all for being here, because I talked to a few of you and I had to hold back tears, but you are all silent guardian angels for somebody like me, because you made what I did happen. So thank you. Right now I am actually working at the South County Lighthouse in National City at our 30-day shelter, and I'm a community life ambassador. What that means is I'm kind of running the ground operations with the day-to-day, helping the guests come into the program and, get assessed and placed in a bed. We bring them hygiene, we help them feel welcome, we show them around our building, and we really just want to give them peace of mind, get to know them, kind of like how Donnie says he goes and he greets everybody and he meets them and gets to know their name. We give people, the time to learn their name and have small conversations that become big conversations later, and really just speak to them and give them that one-on-one interaction that some of them haven't had in years,
That's fantastic. The 162-bed facility down in National City is the South County Lighthouse, for reference. And not everybody that goes through our program has the opportunity to work for us, but they asked her to apply because she's so sharp.
Oh, I wanted to apply.
And she does a great job for us. And so now that they have some context about what you're currently doing, let's back up.
Yes.
You graduated in 2022. So what was going on in your life in 2020, 2021?
So I had gotten to almost 4 years sober from being a 14-year addict and alcoholic. And life started hitting me again, I felt in my heart and in my spirit that something wasn't right. And instead of reaching out, I reverted. Started drinking again, and it took about 6 months, but then I finally relapsed on the drugs of choice that I was using at the time. It took a toll on my whole family. My husband eventually relapsed later, and I slowly lost everything. And it was hard because that was the time during the pandemic, and we were illegally kicked out of our house, and I became homeless for the entire pandemic. And it was really hard, especially on my children. So much happened, but I can just say that I was really blessed. God was really looking out for me every step of the way, every second of the way. I even remember being brought to the San Diego Rescue Mission by a police officer for safety. He picked me up and my son up from the street, and he brought us there to their overnight shelter. And that overnight shelter saved our lives.
The lighthouses are really modeled after a 60-bed facility we had downtown alongside of Mission Academy. And we no longer have that anymore because it's just not the quality of the lighthouses that we have in Oceanside and National City. She came when we didn't have a lighthouse in Oceanside or National City. She came when we had a 60-bed, basically, lighthouse in downtown. And so you went to the emergency shelter, that lighthouse first, and you were there for 30 days?
Yes.
And then you got admitted to the Mission Academy.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, like I said prior, I was brought there for safety by a police officer, and it really gave me the chance to get some rest and wake up. There's no other way to put it other than when you're struggling, it doesn't matter if you're on the street for a day, a week, or years, you really don't have anywhere safe to be, no matter what anyone says. And especially trying to keep yourself going when you have children, it's even more detrimental because, there's a risk of their safety as well. So at that time, I was doing anything I could to stay awake, just to be present. And coming to the shelter, it gave me the opportunity to have safety, stability, safe. Safe is the biggest word I can just say. Being safe, so huge. Being able to not fear falling asleep, my child falling asleep, what could happen to us was just so huge. It gave me the opportunity to get myself back together so I could be like, wow, okay, let's fix this. Let's change this narrative. And it just, if I hadn't had that time to rest and get myself back on somewhat stable ground, I don't know if I could have made it.
So good. Yeah, when you think about the lighthouses, think in terms of the primary goal is triage. Let's eliminate their current crisis of housing, safety, food, clothing, showering. Let's eliminate that. And once we can eliminate that by putting them in a first-class facility that you all help provide, now we can start to work on the issues of the heart. It's hard to go as far as you want to go while they're sleeping in a tent or under a bridge. And you heard it over and over again that she experienced safety. She got to sleep, right? So then you get admitted to Mission Academy, and you go through the 12-month program. Tell them a little bit about what that entails, going through the 12-month program. Then I want you to share what your biggest takeaway is from your 12 months.
Absolutely. Okay, so getting upstairs was huge. At first, I didn't think I was going to. And then, I did. My son was just seeing his eyes light up when he's like, wow, we get our own room? Is this my bed? Is this my bathroom? Is this our shower? To see that in him was huge. To see him be comfortable was huge. So a little bit about my youngest son. He actually has autism. And I struggled with trying to get him care for years, and I never was able to get it on my own. Coming into the program, I was able to reconnect with God, first and foremost. I don't know if many of you are in the same wavelength, but for me, that was the biggest thing I needed to do. I needed to find Jesus again, and be able to find that and keep that as my foundation. Getting my son into a school, getting connected with the preschool and the children care providers that helped him to get connected with the regional center and help for his autism. And they would go to school with me and get me connected to his teachers and get him established with an IEP and learning about, Alana. I feel bad, Alana Webb. It was amazing. She made me read your email every day, Nicole. Read your emails every day. Just becoming, part of society again and doing normal things again was huge. Being able to connect with the CLAs there who would just look at me and not look at me at anything else other than just hope. They looked at me with hope. I felt hope looking back at them and talking with them and establishing a family. I felt like that was my family. At that time, I didn't have any support, and the Rescue Mission became my support. I got to do classes, anger management, ACEs, which, if not, and many of you know, it's adverse child care trauma. We got to do boundaries, got to do Bible studies, got to connect with the women there. I got to do a half marathon. I got to get sponsored to do that, and I
don't just fly by that. Any of y'all done a half marathon? Okay, a few of you, most of you not. You ran 13 miles.
13.1 miles, and I did it 3 times. 3 times. I did the holiday half, the America's Finest, and then the one that's in Oceanside. I apologize, I don't know the Carlsbad Oceanside one. And
it's a program called Up and Running,
yes,
and the students
huge.
can sign up for it, and the staff work with them, and they train for many, many months, and then they register, and they go down with everybody else, and they run a half marathon.
I know they're not here tonight, but Paul Armstrong's wife, she was with me during every training, me pushing my stroller, because my son, she was just there with me, ministering with me, speaking about God with me. It was huge, just so heartwarming. I got to feel self-worth again, and feel like I could do this, and I could take care of my family, and that I was worthy. That was one of the biggest things. I want to say that would be my takeaway. Feeling worthy again, having God in my life and feeling worthy, and knowing that everything that was coming to me was for a reason, and it was okay, and I deserved that, and my family deserved that.
Last question. How does what you've been through make you a better community life ambassador? And a community life ambassador is, remember the RAs in college? That's what a community life ambassador is. They're like an RA, right? They do everything. They put out fires, not literal fires, but figurative fires. They get things that our guests need. They help them navigate around and get to where they need to go. And they're like the team mom of that particular dorm. So how has what you've been through made you a better staff person for us and understanding the circumstances that people are going through?
I would just say that it's kind of like a lived experience, you know. If you ever gone down a street and you know there's a pothole and you're like, gosh, I'm going to avoid this pothole today, and you try to swerve around it, right? And you try to swerve around it, and then next day you're like, okay, I'm just going to maybe go on a back street, but there's potholes in that street too. But then later you're like, I'm going to go a different direction completely because I know there's no potholes this way. I am now able to go a different direction completely, and I'm able to talk to these people in a manner that is just, it reaches them. I'm not going to come at them with rage or fear or angst. I'm coming at them with love and patience and kindness and really a place of understanding because I've been through it myself. So every minute I get to spend with them, I get to think, and it really humbles me. It makes me go, wow, I remember this happening to me. Wow, I remember this frustrating moment that I had. Wow, I remember this time where I really needed to speak to somebody and they didn't, absolutely hear me. Wow, I can be there for this person now, and I can hear them, and I can be an ear for them, or I can be a place of peace for them, and it's just really great.
Well, we are super proud of you, and on behalf of all of us that I think are inspired by what you've overcome, God bless you, and thanks for being here tonight. Nicole K, you guys.
Thank you guys.